scale and simplicity, it was still very much like a church. Up on the ceiling, where ancient crossings met, small carved figures gazed inscrutably down, winged in rows, their faces worn away by the years. The walls were hung with oil paintings, mostly portraits of lords and ladies from long ago. On either side of the lobby, recessed arches led to other rooms. Directly opposite me, however, a much larger arch rose almost as high as the ceiling, and beyond that arch was a staircase. The steps were broad and stone. Time and the centuries had worn them thin at the center, smooth and sheer as marble. On either side, stone balustrades swept up toward a quarter landing, beneath a circular glass window. Through this, the final rays of sunlight gleamed, splashing the stairs with red. I looked at the staircase, and I couldn't move. I looked at it and listened. Beside me, George stomped his great fat feet. Old Starkins hefted the first duffel bag, wheezing and gasping as he thumped it down into the lobby. Footmen walked by, carrying trays of cups, cakes, and clinking cutlery. I heard lots of laughter as we passed into another room. There was plenty of noise around, in other words, but when I listened, it was something else I heard. A silence. A deeper silence of the house. I sensed it all around me, sentient and aware. That silence stretched away from me, along the corridors and levels of that great stone flight of stairs, through open doors and under lonely windows, on and on, to an ever more frightening distance. There wasn't any end to it. The house was just the gate. The silence continued forever, and it was waiting for it. I could feel it waiting. I had the impression of something towering over me, massive and terrifying, ready to crash down on my head. George finished off in the streets. We set off in pursuit of the footmen and their cakes. Starkins wrestled with the luggage. The others were gone. I looked over my shoulder at the gravel driveway and the park beyond. Light rained across the winter countryside. Off the fields, furrows filled with shadow. Soon they'd brim over and flood the land with spreading dark, and the silence in the house would stir. Panic gripped my chest. I didn't have to go in. There was still time to turn back. Nervous, always, Bert Starkins remarked, shouldering his way past me with a duffel bag in his arms. Don't blame you if you are. That poor little Fisk girl, 30 years back, she was fearful too. Tell you what, I wouldn't blame you if you were dying for. He regarded me with dour commiseration. His voice cut through my self-absorption. The moment passed. My paralysis was gone. I shook my head dumbly. With slow mechanical steps, I stepped over the threshold, crossed the hallway, and entered the long gallery. This was a darkly beautiful room, lit along its enormous length by a line of mulliganed windows. It was clearly the the lobby. The same white stone, oak ceiling, carved figures in the shadows, rows of darkened paintings. Halfway along, a fire leaped and spat in a vast brick fireplace. At the far end, a faded tapestry filled the wall, which showed a scene of obscure mythological interest, involving 6 girls, 3 plump, semi-naked women, and a depicted from there. Beside the fireplace was a table, and the footman settled on high tea. George had already helped himself to a cake. He was surveying the tapestry with interest. Nice tart, he said. Did you try a custard one? Not now. I need to talk with Lockwood. Good time. Here he is. Lockwood and Fairfax entered the room from the lobby. Lockwood moved over to intercept us. His face was calm, but there was a bright gleam in his eye. Have you felt the atmosphere of this place? I began. You'll never guess what, he said over me. They've been through our bags. George and I stared. What? While we were walking around the Starkins, Fairfax got his men to check them over. They wanted to make sure we hadn't brought any canisters of Greek fire. George whistled. They can't do that. I know. When we've given them our word. Over at the tea table, Fairfax belaboured the footman for some air. He waved an arm, stamped his stick upon the floor. How do you know he didn't? I said softly. Oh, he told me straight out. Sir called the bank. Bold as brass he was. Said he'd do the same to anyone. Asked to protect the fabric of the ancient building. Entirely expensive furniture. Blah, blah, blah. But the real message he was giving me was, it's his house, his rules. We played his way, we're out at all. It's been like that from the start, George said. The whole thing is screwy. Nothing but sex. He doesn't allow us to think swears. He gives us no time for research. Then he throws us into what he claims is one of the most haunted sites in Britain, and it's not just plain, I said. Can't you feel it? All around us. I stared at him. Lockwood nodded curtly. Yes, I feel it. Well then, do you really think we should? Mr. Lockwood, Fairfax's people rolled out across the gallery. Your tea awaits. Come to the table and let me advise you about the evening. The meal was good. The tea was thick and spicy, and the warmth of the crackling fire broke back the deathly silence for a while. Fairfax sat alongside us while we ate, watching us with his black and bloody eyes, and talking generally about the hall. He discussed its many treasures, the late medieval ceilings, the collections of Sevres porcelain and Queen Anne furniture, the unique Renaissance spoils hanging in the lobby and stairs. He told us of the extensive wine cellars running beneath our feet, of the herb gardens which he hoped in due time to restore, of the ruined priory cloisters drowned beneath the lake. He did not mention anything in relevance to our assignment until the tea was done. Then he dismissed the footmen and got down to business. Time presses, he said. And Starkins and I are keen to leave before the lake fails. No doubt you have your own preparations to make before you begin your work. I'll be brief. As I told you the other day, you have to reach into the house. Perhaps you have sensed as much already. He waited. Lockwood, who was chasing a raisin around his plate with a long, thin finger, smiled urbanely. It promises to be a very intriguing night, sir, he said. Fairfax chuckled. That's the spirit. Very well. Here are the grapnels. As the skulls, I shall shut you in. But beware that those main doors will remain unlocked all night, should you need to leave the building. In addition, on each level, you will find an iron door leading to my apartments in the east wing. These will be blocked, but in case of emergency, rap on them loudly, and I will come to your aid. The electrical equipment does not work well in this wing, owing to psychic influences, but we will rig up a telephone in the lobby that will connect you to Starkins' cottage. All internal doors will, with one exception, be unlocked, so you can roam where you please. As for that exception, he tapped his jacket pocket. I have the key here. I will give it to you presently. Any questions so far? It would be useful if you could indicate the areas of most activity, sir. Lockwood said quietly. If you have the time. Yes. Yes, of course. Starkins. The old man raised his voice in a roar. In the lobby, the even older man came scuttling, wringing his bony hands. Get Boris and Carl to set up the phone, Fairfax said. I'm taking Mr. Lockwood on a tour. He's a good servant, Starkins. He confided once the caretaker had bobbed and shuffled away. Only hellish timorous. Wouldn't catch him going upstairs at late, even with the sun still in the sky. Well, I suppose caution's kept him alive this long. Let's get on. We left the table and followed Fairfax out across the room. He indicated a door on the far side of the fireplace. Through there, you'll find the garden rooms, reception areas, conservatory, and kitchens. They're old, but not as ancient as this gallery here, which is part of the original priory. It used to lead to other buildings, but they were pulled down long ago. He pointed to the tapestry at the end. That's where the house ends now. He led us back to the lobby and overturned archway beyond. Here was a square, carpeted room, made dark by rows of towering bookshelves. On the far side was a studded metal door. Uncomfortable-looking modern chairs of iron and leather-studded on reading tables. One wall was almost covered by a large collection of framed photographs, some in color, mostly black and white. The largest wall, right in the center, showed a serious young man, in doublet, ruff, and tights, scrutinizing a moldy-looking skull. Lockwood regarded it with interest. Excuse me, sir, isn't that you? Fairfax nodded. Yes, that's me. I played Hamlet in my youth. Indeed, I played most Shakespearean roles, but the Dane was perhaps my favorite. Ah, to be or not to be, the hero caught suspended between life and death. If I must say so myself, I was rather good. So then, this is the library, where I spend most of my time during my visits. My predecessor's taste in books were poor, so I have replaced his with my own collection, refurbished it a little. It is just a step through the door there to the safety of my chambers, and the iron furniture, spend much time here during their search. Fairfax returned us to the lobby, was darkened with setting a black old-fashioned telephone on a side table beside an ornate vase. The source, whatever it is doubtless in the oldest portion of the house, the lobby, the long gallery, or, most probably, upstairs. Hey, careful there. Two footmen were unraveling a coil of telephone wire around the table. That's Han Dynasty. Do you know the value of that vase? He continued to rebuke them, but I tuned them out. I walked across the lobby, was sitting in my inner ear, hearing only my heart beating in the waiting silence. Ahead of me, the great stairs rose, curving to the quarter landing and onward into darkness. Strange creatures with lots of scales and horns were carved into the sides of the balustrade at every other step. Each supported a small plinth between its claws. Hear anything? George murmured. He drifted alongside me. No, the reverse. It's like it's cloaked or something. I see you found the legendary screaming staircase. Fairfax was back with us once more. See those plinths beside the carven dragons? Those are where the Red Duke set the skulls of his victims, or so the story goes. Perhaps after tonight, you will be able to confirm the story of the stairs. I hope for your sake, you do not hear it scream. He led the way up the flight, stick tapping on the stone. We followed in silent, ragged procession, each ignoring the others, letting our senses take the lead. I let my fingers run across them. A long, wide corridor that I remembered from George's plans ran east-west, following the line of the house. Numerous rooms open on both sides, with half-open doors like glimpsed dark-toned furniture, paintings, heavy golden mirrors. Fairfax ignored them all. He led the way west along the corridor until it ended in a door. Fairfax halted. Whether it was effort of the stairs or the suddenly stifling quality of the air, he was out of breath. Beyond this barrier, he said finally, is the place I told you of, the Red Room. It was a sturdy wooden door, closed and locked, and no different from the others we passed, except for the mark upon it. Someone, at some time, had slashed with great rough X upon its central panel. One strip was short, the other long. Both were made with fineness, scoured deep into the wood. Fairfax adjusted the position of the stick upon the floor. Now, Mr. Lockwood, pay close attention, because this particular danger, this room is always kept locked. However, I have the key here, and I hereby transfer it to your possession. He made a great show of it, patting and rummaging. Finally, the key appeared, a small gold thing on a loop, dark red ribbon. Lockwood took it coolly. It's my belief, Fairfax said, that the source is in that room. Whether you decide to pursue it is a matter for yourselves. You do not have to enter. I leave it up to you. I think you could already sense, however, that I am right. He may have said more. I was too busy trying to block out the faint, insistent whispering sound that had suddenly broke through the silence. They were somewhere very close, and I did not like the voices. I noticed that Lockwood had gone ashen. He and George looked green and queasy. He'd drawn his collar tie about his neck as if he felt cold. Down in the lobby, the telephone had been rigged up beside him, its cable running across the stones to a socket second library. The footmen had gone. Old bird stepped in, driven by the door, silhouetted in the half-dark, desperate to follow them. 10 minutes, sir, he growled. Fairfax regarded us. Mr. Lockwood. Lockwood nodded. That's fine. 10 minutes all you need. We worked in silence, beneath the high-thin windows of the long gallery, emptying out the bags, collecting equipment, getting straps, and adjusting gear. Each of us had our usual tools, plus a few extra, to make up for the lack of flares. At my belt, I carried my rapier, flashlight, and extra batteries, 3 candles with lighter and a box of matches, 5 small silver seals, each with a different shape, 3 sachets of fine filings, 3 salt palms, 2 flasks of lavender water, my thermometer, my notebook, and pen. Next, on a separate strap, looped like a sash across my shoulder, I had 2 lines of plastic canisters, arranged in pairs. Each pair contained half a pound of iron filings and half a pound of salt. Next, also over my shoulder, I had a legal slender iron chain, 6 feet long, completely unfurled, and tightly wound with bubble wrap to prevent excessive noise. Last, in our outer pocket of my coat, I kept a packet of movies, provisions, energy drink, sandwiches, and chocolate. Our thermos flasks of good hot tea, and the largest of concealers were carried in a separate bag. In addition to my new clothes, I wore thermal gloves, a thermal vest, and leggings, and thick socks under my boots. It wasn't cool enough yet for my hat, so I stuffed this in the pocket of my parka. And I still had a necklace in its silver glass case, hidden around my neck. The others were outfitted more or less the same, though Lockwood also had stuff matches clipped to the breast pocket of his coat. The equipment weighed us down, it was more cumbersome than usual, but we each carried enough iron to be individually self-reliant. If we were separated in a need, we could set up our own circles of defense. The duffel bags would contain double sets of 2-inch iron chains, which even the strongest visitor would find pretty hard to move, but we weren't wholly dependent on those now. We finished. The light outside the windows was almost gone. Over in the fireplace, the orange flames danced low. Darkness crept along the ceiling of the long gallery and weltered in the crooks and angles of the great stone staircase. But so what if it did? Yes, the day was dead and the night had come, and the visitors to the hall were stirring. Then the door slammed shut. The reverberation of their closing rang sharply around the lobby and lay along the galleries. I could hear the echoes drifting on and on into the dusty reaches of the house. Wouldn't it be good if he'd forgotten his stick? George said, and had to scurry back in again to pick it up. That would absolutely ruin the effect, wouldn't it? Neither of us answered. The echoes had faded, and now the eager silence of the house rose to enfold us like the waters of a well. Chapter 20. First things first, Lockwood said. Wait here. He walked away across the lobby, boots tapping on the flagstones, under the gaze of the old lords and ladies of Cumberry, to a small door beside the staircase. He opened the door and disappeared within. The door shut. There was a pause. George and I looked at each other. An oddly ceramic sound followed, then silence. Then a toilet flushing. Lockwood emerged, wiping a hand on his coat. He strolled back to us hurriedly. That's better, he said. He was carrying a glistening wet packet under his arm. What's this? George asked. Lockwood flourished the packet. 7 of the strongest magazine flares Sappho's could provide, he said. Strap them into your belt as usual, and off we go. He broke the tape seal around the bag, and then folded the wet plastic. When he tipped it, 2 bright silver canisters fell out onto his palm. Lockwood, George began. How did... You had the flares under your clothes, I cried. You hid them when we arrived. While we were waiting outside, it was darkness. He smiled. His teeth glinted dimly in the half light. That's right. They were strapped to the lining of my coat. As soon as we got here, I nipped to the loo and hid them in the toilet tank. Here you go, Lizzie. Hold out your hands. I took comforting possession of the cylinders and fixed them into my belt in their proper place. Lockwood tipped out 2 more and handed them to George. I guess that Fairfax would frisk us, or check our equipment eventually, he said. And I wanted them snapped away and out of sight before that happened. I must admit, though, I didn't think he'd have the nerve to rifle through our bags while we weren't looking. But there you go. That's the measure of the man he is. Why? What kind of man is he? George said, staring at his canisters. A dreadful one. Isn't it obvious? And here are 2 more for me. I shook my head, marveling. If Fairfax knew you'd done this. Ah, but he doesn't. Lockwood wore his wolf-like smile. And I'm not going to lose any sleep over deceiving him. He's laying out the rules so far. This is where we start to adjust them in our favor. I'm not arguing, Lockwood, George said. This is great work. But you know that if we set fire to so much as the leg of the Queen and fair, we won't be getting the rest of our money. In fact, Fairfax will probably sue us, like Oaks did, so we'll be right back where we started. Oh, he'd sue us all right, Lockwood agreed. But who cares? This Greek fire just might save our lives. Remember what happened to the last group of agents who spent the night here? No one finding us stone dead on the floor. Which brings me to the last little purchase yesterday. He tapped the upturned packet. Our rolled a 7th cylinder, slightly larger than the rest. Like the others, it had Sunrise Corporation's Rising Sun logo stamped on its side, but the paper wrap was dark red instead of white. It had a long fuse at one end. New type of flare, Lockwood said, attaching it next to the other canisters on his belt. The guy at Satchel said Fitz and Rowell agents have begun using them on cluster cases, blitz victims, plague sites, and so on. It sounded like Ross laughed away the silver magazine, but far away than it would not, because it's industrial strength, apparently. I hope so. It costs nothing. Now, where can I hide this trash? He crumpled a wet packet and stuffed inside the opening of Fairfax's hand base. Good, he said briskly. Let's get to work. We chose the library after base of operations. It was close both to the main exit and the door connecting to the safe wing, and a profusion of iron chairs was luckily gathered into the library. We dragged the bag inside and set an electric lantern on the table. Lockwood turned it down low. Well, we've had a quick look around already, he said. Any thoughts? The whole place is heaving with them, I said. George nodded. Particularly the corridor near the Red Room. Yeah. Did you hear anything, Lucy? In that corridor? A lot of whispering. It was too quiet to make out any of the words, but the voices were wicked, I think. Everywhere else just silence. But it's a silence that I know is going to break as night goes on. I gave an apologetic smile. Sorry, that doesn't make much sense, does it? Lockwood nodded. Actually, it does. It's just the same with me. I can sense the death blows everywhere. I can't quite see them yet. What about you, George? I'm not as tuned in as you two, he said. But one thing I have noticed. He unclipped his thermometer and held the reading toward us. When we were in the library with Fairfax, the temperature was 60 degrees. It's down to 50 now. That's dropping fast. It'll go a lot lower yet, Lockwood said. All right, we'll be systematic. We'll map temperatures, record sensations. Ground floor first, including the staircase. Then the cellars. Then we'll take a break. After that, the other floors. The night's long, and it's a big house. We stick together at all times. No one wanders off alone, for any reason. If you need to take a leak, we all go. Simple as that. No more tea for me then, I said. I was right. The place was heaving with them, and it wasn't long before the ghosts began to show themselves. Thanks to the iron furniture of the library, where we started, had relatively few paranormal traces. But even here, the lantern briefly switched off, and us standing in darkness, we started to notice little flecks of threads of light darting across our vision. They were too faint and fleeting to build into a true manifestation, but they were plasmic traces all the same. Following the traditional Fitz technique, George took temperature readings in all four corners and in the center of the room. He noted them carefully on his floor plan. I stood guard with the rapier while he did so. Lockwood and I then used our talents to check sensations. We didn't pick up much. The silence blanketed my ears. Lockwood reported some faint illuminations that he guessed were ancient death blows. He seemed more interested in the cheesy theatrical photos on the wall. In the lobby, George's readings gave an average of 50 degrees. The flecks of plasma were noticeably stronger now, shooting around us like fireflies in the dark. Here too came the first glimpse of green-white ghost fog, a haze so subtle that trying to focus on it hurt your eyes. It clung close to the floor and built slowly in the margins of the room, and now the other phenomena began to gather pace. When I concentrated, I began to hear a low-lying crackling sound, like radio static, at the far edge of perception. It died and swelled repeatedly, forever threatening to cohere into meaningful noise, but never quite doing so. For some reason, its obscurity disturbed me. I did my best to shut it out. Meanwhile, Lockwood had detected 3 death blows in the lobby, each one disconcertingly bright. Recent, you think? I said. He took off his sunglasses and clipped them to his coat. Or a record of an old but horribly traumatic event. Impossible to say. The great staircase itself provided surprisingly low-key readings. Its temperature, George made measurements on several steps and took the average, was no different from the lobby. I detected no variation in the underlying sounds there, and certainly no screaming. When, rather tentatively, I touched his stonework and sought psychic impressions, I got nothing except a sensation of strong unease, which, speaking frankly, I was already feeling anyway. In the long gallery, the far wall was lost in shadows and the air was chill. The roaring fire in the grate had shrunk down to a single pulsy flame. It shook and quivered, but never quite went out. George consulted the thermometer again. 46 degrees, he said, and falling. I'm starting to detect malaise, I said. Anyone else pick that up? They nodded. Yes, it was starting. That old familiar drooping of the spirits, that leaden weight pressing cruelly on your arm, so that all you wanted to do was curl up in a ball and close your eyes. We drew close, hands on rapiers, and walked together down the room. The feelings of despair grew stronger as we proceeded, past the tea table and the fireplace, toward the faded tapestry at the far end of the gallery. The temperature dropped fast. Ghost fog drifted at our ankles and lapped against the sofas. And now, when we looked back, the first true apparitions came into view, dim figures standing in the center of the lobby. By the peculiar rule of weak type ones, they were clearest when viewed out of the corner of your eye, granular notches of gray and black that flickered briefly and melted into nothing. 2 were child size, 1 was adult. Aside from that, you couldn't tell anything about them. Ignoring them as best we could, we took turns standing guard and we did our readings at the furthest wall. It was noticeably colder here. Lockwood raised the corner of the tapestry and looked beneath it. I wondered about that too, George said. Anything? Lockwood let the tapestry drop. Just stone. This is a cold spot. Yeah, 42 degrees, going on 41. Okay, we're done here. Let's keep moving. By the time we finished with the ground floor and right back in the staircase, we've been exposed to a whole range of sinister mists, sounds, and odors, not all of them courtesy of George. Nowhere else had proved to be quite as chilly as a long gallery, or so baleful in atmosphere, but supernatural phenomena extended throughout the wing. The malignant static noise had grown louder. Several other death blows had been mapped. Apparitions were frequent. They never came close to us, but always materialized at the far ends of corridors, and places we'd just been, or were just about to go. Their details could not be picked out, though some were clearly children. The impression they gave was typical of your standard type ones. Unresponsive, not aggressive, just a little sad. They're the small stuff. George said as, with the frail orb of Lockwood's candle in front, we descended the narrow cellar stairs. Shades, lurkers, hazes, they're just the outline manifestations that have gathered around the original deeper haunting. Nothing we've seen so far is the source itself, or even close to it, except maybe the cold spot by the tapestry. And you know what the room had strictly under, don't you? I didn't answer. None of us had mentioned the Red Room for over an hour, even though it was clear to all of us where our investigation was likely to lead. It was pitch black in the cellar, and there was a nasty draft. The candle blew out almost immediately, and we had to resort to flashlights. The beams picked out a spreading complex of vaulted passageways, grey stones, ancient pillars, and an uneven flagstone floor across which the ghost fog curled. Some of the alcoves were filled with broken cask and empty racks once used for storing wine. The rest contained firewood, lumber, spiderwebs, and rats. As we stepped our way even farther in, the clouds grew thicker and the ghost fog brighter. The temperatures kept going down. The last room ended in a blank stone wall. Same pattern as above, George said, scribbling on his map while I held the flashlight. Lockwood stood beside us with a rapier. We're directly below the far end of the long gallery, and again we've hit a cold spot. It's 41 degrees there too. That's the coldest reading in the cellars. Look at the lead up there. There's something about this wall that, ow. Lockwood had shoved us aside. He sliced frantically downward with his rapier. The tip struck the stonework at the end of the wall. Yellow sparks ignited in the room. He gave a curse. Missed, he snarled. It's gone. I had my sword out. George, overbound by his backpack and chains, had capsized on the flagstone. Both of us stared wildly all around. My flashlight beam spun in crazy circles. It was like we were surrounded by a thick grey hoop of rushing stone. What was it? I said. Lockwood. He brushed his hair out of his eyes, breathing hard. Didn't you see? No. It was there, standing right beside you. Gosh, it was quick. Lockwood. A man swimming out the darker side of the wall, just a face and hand. It was like he was reaching out to grab you, Lucy. It was a monk, I think. The top of his head was bald. His hair was cut in one of those tonsil things. Tonsure, George said from the floor. Tonsil, tonsure, whatever. I didn't like his face. We returned upstairs. A few coils of ghost fog had penetrated a little distance into the library, but the lantern still gleamed strongly, and the apparitions had been kept at bay. Lockwood turned the light up a little. We took off our loops of iron chains to give our backs a rest, laid our flask and rations out on Fairfax's reading desk, and sat together in silence. It was a little after 10 p.m. For some while I'd been conscious of cold weight pressing on my chest, and I took the opportunity to pull the silver glass case out from beneath my coat. A faint blue gleam shone from within, the first time I'd seen the ghost girl's locket give a spectral glow. Clearly her spirit was still active. Perhaps she was responding to the strength of visitor activity all around. Perhaps there was some other reason for the light. When it came to visitors, it was all guesswork. Even after 50 years, there was so much we didn't know. George had his war plan spread out on the ample knee. With his pencil, he tapped the irritating bit on his teeth as he considered our annotations. Lockwood finished his cookies. Flashlight in hand, he got up to inspect the bookshelves. Out in the lobby, a solitary ghost stood shrouded in the darkness, flickered suddenly, and was gone. Got it, George said. I took the glass case out of sight. Got what? The source. I know where it is. I think we can all guess that, I said. The bedroom. It was time someone brought it up. After we rested, we were due to go upstairs. Possibly, George said, and possibly not. He had his glasses off, so he could rub his tired eyes. Now he put them back on. It's a curious thing with George. With his glasses off, his eyes looked small and weak, blinky, and a bit baffled, like an unintelligent sheep that's taken a wrong turn. But when he put them on again, they went all sharp and steely, more like the eyes of an eagle that eats dumb sheep for breakfast. They did that now. Something's just occurred to me, he said. It's been staring us in the face in these old floor plans all this time, but our reading should confirm it, I think. Look here. He positioned the two plans together on a table. Here's the old sketch of the priory ruins, he said, done in medieval times. Here's the refectory, which becomes a log gallery. Upstairs, these rooms here are the monks' dormitories. Many of them are gone, but this one still exists. It's now known as the Red Room. Lockwood, I said suddenly. Are you listening to this? Yes. Lockwood was standing by Fairfax's wall of photographs. He'd got a large book on the shelves and was looking through it idly. The medieval sketch, George went on, shows passages beyond the Red Room, and beyond the long gallery too, which has since been knocked down. They led to a series of rooms at both levels, more dormitories, perhaps, or stores, or chapels for praying in. There's probably an extension on the cellar too. I don't know. That's not shown on the plans. But when you look at the 19th century floor plan, those extra areas are gone. It shows the wing as it ends today, with that big stone wall, where the bolts are. It's a very sturdy wall, isn't it? I said. It's a very thick wall, George said, and that's the point. It's much thicker than the wall shown on the original plan. It extends out across where those earlier passages were. A tremor of excitement, like a little electric surge, ran through my chest and prickled the muscles in my arms. You think his glasses glinted? Yeah, I think we're talking secret rooms. So when the rest was destroyed, they might have sealed up some of the connecting passages. I guess it's possible. What do you say, Lockwood? No answer. When I looked back, Lockwood had taken several other volumes from the shelves and was deeply engrossed in the fog lapping at its fringes. Lockwood had his head bowed, hands pressed tight together. He was deep in thought. Okay, he said at last. Something important to say. It's not about the Fairfax's scrapbooks again, is it? I said. No, listen. George, as usual, has gotten it right. The commentary source is probably hidden in that wall. To find it, we have to find the entrance. And that's almost certainly in the Red Room. Now, some of the stories about the hall might be bunk. I don't think there's anything in the screaming staircase yarn, for instance, but the Red Room is clearly different. We all felt the atmosphere outside that door. It would be no small thing to go inside. He looked up, surveyed us each in turn. We don't have to. Fairfax said so himself. We don't have to go into that room. Just by turning up here this evening, we've earned the money to pay off the damages caused by the Sheen Road fire. Fairfax has already paid. I checked with the bank when he arrived. Sure, we can get more if we track down the source, but that's not essential. The company will survive without it. Will it, though? George said. Exactly how many more cases do you expect me to get, Lockwood? Apart from Fairfax's surprise offer, our reputation's up in flames. Lockwood didn't try to deny it. Like I keep saying, he said quietly, we need a big success to turn it all around. Solving the Annie Ward murder would do it, of course, and we're closer there, thanks to Lucy. But it's not guaranteed. He sighed. I can't quite make the final jump. After finding the source here, well, that's certainly another option, but it's a risky one. Whatever's hidden in this place is frighteningly strong. He sat back and smiled. And this time, it wasn't the full megawatt version, the one you obeyed despite yourself. Just a warm, companionable grin. You know me, he said. I think we'd be a match for it, but I'm not going to impose that belief on you. If you want to steer clear, that's fine. I leave it up to you. George and I looked at each other. I waited for him to speak. He waited for me. And in my head, the crackling ghostly static died away, as if the thing that controlled the house awaited my decision too. Before that evening, I might have held back. I'd chosen wrongly too many times in crisis situations to fully trust my instincts now. But since stepping through the door, and particularly since we'd begun our explorations, my confidence had slowly risen. We worked well together, so much better than ever before. We've been careful, rigorous, even competent. It showed me what a company might one day become. This wasn't something I wanted to give up lightly. I took a deep breath. I vote we take a quick look, I said. Providing we keep an avenue of retreat open behind us. If things go bad, we leave and get out of the building as quickly as possible. Lockwood nodded. Fair enough. And George? George puffed out his ample cheeks. Amazingly, Lucy's talked some sense for once. I feel exactly the same way. Provided he patted the cylinders at his belt. We're allowed to use all our weapons if we have to. That's settled then. Lockwood said quietly. Gather the bags and let's go. Now that we made the decision, we didn't hang around. But we weren't reckless either. We made conscious progress up the stairs, always watching and listening a few steps ahead. As before, the phantoms kept their distance, but the ghost fog billowed around our knees. Lockwood saw death close on the landing and beyond the bedroom doors. For my part, the towering silence was back. It pressed tightly against my temples. The air felt thick and syrupy. The cloying, sickly sweet smell followed us from the landing. Outside, the defaced door and the whispering had died away. When I looked back along the passage, I could sense the apparitions clustering beyond the fringes of the
Åt
They're waiting for us to go in. Who's got the mints? George said. I just know we're going to need mints in there. Lockwood took the key from his pocket and put it in the lock. Found easily, he said. By centuries of burning. He moved the beam upward until it hit the opposite wall. A glimpse of high white wainscoting, then dark green wallpaper, almost black with dirt and age. In places, it had ripped away, revealing the bricks beneath. Still, the beam rose. We saw the strip of heavy molding. Then, a small ornate clockwork covered the swirls and fire. The light reached a single chandelier hanging from the center of the ceiling. Fronds of soft gray webbing dangled from scrolls and chains, swaying currents stirred by the opening of the door. Spiders. A sure sign. Lockwood dropped the clock low. Down at her feet, the corridor carpet ended precisely at the line of the door. A thick strip of iron had been embedded here. Beyond were dust and floorboards and the utter desolation of the bedroom. Anyone sensing things? Lockwood said. His voice sounded strange and hollow. Neither of us did. Lockwood stepped over the iron now, and George and I followed him, bringing the heavy grapple back. Cool air swirled around us. My boots tapped softly on the boards. I expected to be hit by strong phenomena right off. The moment we went in, the wall was very quiet. Though the pressure of my skull was worse than ever. The ghost fog had not manifested in the room, and I could hear the static of the room right now. We put our bags down, with our flashlights surveyed our surroundings. It was a large rectangular space, taking up the whole depth of the room. The wall opposite marked the end of the house and corresponded to the tapestry wall and the long gallery directly below. This wall had no doors or windows, but in places the paper had been stripped away to reveal bricks with stones beneath. The wall on the right had no windows. That on the left had originally had 3, but 2 had been bricked up. The last one had a shutter, folded back against the signs of its recess. Other than the chandelier, there was no furniture at all. Not very red, is it? George said. That had been my thought too. The first things first, Lockwood said briskly. Lucy, help me make a circle. George, secure our retreat, please. Holding her flashlights in our teeth, Lockwood and I opened the metal bags and pulled out the heavy-duty 2-inch chains. We laid them on the floor and began to shake them into a necessary circle, our defense against whatever waited in the room. George, meanwhile, bent to his backpack. He unzipped the side pocket and fell inside. I have a visitor's-proof DFD somewhere in here, he said. Hold on a sec. DFD, I said. Door-fixing device. Just a bit of the latest tech. Got it from Satchel. Pricey, yes, but worth it. Ah, here we go. He produced a rough coon triangle of wood. I stared at it. Isn't that just a wedge? No, a DFD, my friend. A DFD. It's got an iron core. It looks like you found it in a dumpster. How much did you pay for it? I can't remember. George kicked it firmly in position so the door was held ajar. Call it what you like. It'll stop the door from closing, and that might keep us alive. He was right to that extent. In the case of the Shadwell poltergeist the year before, 2 Grimble agents had been separated from their colleagues when the bathroom door blew shut on them. The door had then stuck fast. No one could get through, and the 2 agents had been battered to death by whirling ceramics. When the irritation had ended, the door had opened freely. Scatter salt across the doorway too, Lockwood said, just to be sure. We finished the chain circle now. We're hauling the bags inside. Right, we retreat here if anyone gives the word. Temperature? 43 degrees, George said. So far so good. At the moment this seems the quietest place in the house. Let's make the most of it. We'll hunt for hidden doors. It's the end wall, isn't it, George? Yes, we're looking for any signs of the concealed entrance. Buttons, switches, that sort of thing. Try knocking for hollow areas too. Okay, Lucy and I will do the first search. George, stay here and watch our backs. Lockwood and I went to the opposite ends of the wall, our boots echoing the emptiness. Flashlight beams focused small to minimize the disruption of our inner senses. I chose the left-hand corner, not far from the single unblocked window. Through the dirty glass, I could just make out lights from a distant village, and a couple of winter stars. I turned on the flashlight and ran my hand along the wall. It seemed smooth enough, the paper level and unbroken. I shuffled sideways, feeling high and low. Every now and then I stopped and listened, but all remained still. Anyone smell that? Lockwood said suddenly. His profile hung at the edge of the flashlight beam. He was frowning, wrinkling his nose. Smell what? Something sweet, but sour. I can't think what it is. It's familiar, but strange. Sounds a lot like Lucy, George remarked. He was behind us in the center of the room. The minutes passed. Lockwood's hand met mine in the darkness. We reached the middle of the wall. After a moment, we each started going back the way we'd come, this time wrapping the surface with our knuckles. A few whispered Plaza building, George called. You want us to stop? Keep going for now. At last, near the end of the wall, at the corner of the window, I detected a slight variation in the quality of sound. The ring of my knock seemed higher and more resonant, as if echoing from space within. I may have something here, I said. There's a place that sounds hollow. If you... What was that? George said. We'd all heard it. Somewhere in the dark. A soft, decisive tap. Lockwood and I turned around. Come back to the circle, George said, and keep your flashlights off. We'll use mine. His beam cut slowly, carefully past us as we hurried back to join him, strafing the ceiling, walls, and floor. All seemed exactly as before. Or did it? Discreetly, insidiously. Something in the atmosphere had changed. We stood back to back in the center of the circle, shoulders pressing tight together. I'm going to turn the flashlight off, George said. He did so. We gazed out into the blackness of the empty room. Lucy, Lockwood's voice said, what do you hear? The whisperings kicked off, I said. All at once, it was very loud. It's like before, a host of wicked voices. Can you tell where? Not yet. Seems all around. Okay, George, what do you see? Whispered whirls of light, bright but brief. No one location. There was a pause. And you, Lockwood, I said. He spoke heavily. I can see the death glows now. More than one. Lucy, there are dozens. I don't know how I didn't see them before. The whole room's a death chamber. He took a breath. Everyone, draw your rapiers now. 3 sets of shoulders bumped and shifted. There was a collective rasp of iron. It sensed that, George said. The wisp went into a frenzy. They calmed again. Lucy, the whispering got louder, angry, then it died back. What do we do? The smell, Lockwood said. It's there again. So strong. Surely you can. He gave a little cry of frustration. Don't either of you smell it? No, I said. Lockwood, concentrate. What do we do? Do we leave? I think we've got to. Something big's coming. Ah, these glows are bright. I could hear him fumbling with his sunglasses, hurrying to put them on. But didn't Lucy say she found the door? George said. Shouldn't we? Not a door, I said. I got a hollow thump, like the wall was thin somehow. It doesn't matter either way, Lockwood said. We're leaving the room now. I trapped it in the darkness. Soft but heavy. The same as the first. Another fall. And then another. That's between us and the door, George said. No, it isn't. Quiet, Lockwood said. Just listen. Tap, tap, tap. Slow and regular. I timed 5 fast heartbeats between each sound. It wasn't easy to tell where the noise was coming from, or what it might be. It seemed familiar. I heard the light before. For some reason, the bathroom back in Portland Road came to mind. The lower one, where I sometimes took a shower, and where George's discarded underwear lay in wait for unwary feet. At first, I thought it might be the shared sense of danger and foreboding that made me make the connection, but I realized it was something else. The shower head in the bathroom was faulty. It dripped. Tap, tap, tap. Turn the light off, I whispered. Directly in front of you. He obeyed without question. Perhaps he'd realized too. The beam fell on the floorboards, like a delicate ring of gold. Something black and irregular lay up in its center. It looked rather like a large misshapen spider with innumerable legs. Tap. A new leg grew, splayed out to the side. Tap. Another leg, longer, thinner, stretched far across the wood. With each tap, there came a flash of movement in the middle of the shape. The black thing glistened. There was a hint of red. Lockwood raised the flashlight slowly, and timed to catch the next strip as it fell midair. He lifted the flashlight to the plaster ceiling, where a wider, darker flame spreading along the spiral molding. At its center, stuff as thick and dark as molasses sagged, grew heavy, broke loose in drops, to splash down upon the floor below. Now I know what the smell was, Lockwood muttered. Blood, I said. Well, technically, of course, it's blood, George said. The visitor's just chosen a highly unusual, non-anatomical guise, which I don't care about. Technically, George, I cried. It looks like blood. It smells like it. It'll do as blood for me. Even as we watched, the weight of substance pulling on the ceiling became too great to be released by a single steady outflow. Drips broke loose in a second place, slightly closer to us, and the rate of fall was faster. I flipped on my For a moment, none of us moved. I felt the coil of panic slide slick and tight around my belly. Lockwood stepped forward. He covered the ground in 3 quick strides and tried the handle. You got about it urgently. Shut up, he said. I can't open it. What exactly happened to the wedge? George's voice was faint. The DFD. I gave a wild curse. I don't care what it was called, George. It didn't work. You didn't secure it properly. I secured it fine. No, you just nudged it in with the BFF. That's big fat foot, by the way. Shut up, Lucy. Will you both shut up? Lockwood snarled. And help me with this door. We grasped my hands together and tugged as hard as we could. The door didn't budge. Where's the key? I said. Lockwood, the key. What did you do with it? He hesitated. I left it in the door. Oh, that's great, I said. Between you and George, we might as well have put a sign for the visitor saying, be our guest. I tell you I secured it fine, George shouted. And I put the salt down too. He kicked out viciously at the grains beneath our boots. See? You should have been able to get near the door. Calm down, Lockwood said. He had shown the flashlight back to the ceiling, where a new spur of light had begun to well downward ominously close to where we stood. It's responding to our panic. Let's get back to the circle. We managed this okay, though we had to live noticeably farther out across the room than before. Several of the drips had now intensified into broken streams, like paths left gently running. The noise they made was no longer a series of sharp clicks, but a continual liquid thrum. There was a considerable puddle of blood spreading on the floor. We're going to get surrounded, I said. How much positive has it got? This is huge, George muttered. It's not an ordinary thing to do. Poltergeist would have the vast telekinetic powers. Shutting the door, keeping closed, turning the key, but that doesn't fit with manifestation. The blood makes it a changer, surely, but changers don't turn keys. I think it's stupid, Lockwood said. Really stupid. I underestimated everything. Lucy, we're going to find the secret exit. You've got to show us where you felt the difference in the wall. An arm of blood extended swiftly from the central pool to the floor. Its tip drew close to the iron chains and retreated, fizzing, spitting. The air was thick with the smell of blood. It was difficult to breathe. Or we stay here, I said. At least I can't get in. George gave a yell. I felt him jump to the side. He stumbled over to the double bags and nearly fell beyond the iron. Lockwood cursed. What are you? He shone the flashlight. George crouched on the bags, clutching at his jacket. A ribbon of smoke curled from his shoulder. Up above, he said hoarsely. Quick. The beam snapped upward. There, the chandelier choked with dust and legs. A single rivulet of red trickled from the ceiling, down the central column, and out along a curving crystal line. At its lowest point, a new pendant of love was slowly building. It can't do that, I said. We're inside the iron. Move out of the way. Lockwood pushed me back, just as the drop fell.